Then I'll call this meeting to order. Pledge allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I'll let the record show that all committee members and our liaison are here, with the exception of Mr. Robinson.
Oh, he's out again tonight? Okay.
Yeah, I think he's not going to make it.
Okay.
So you've all been sent the agenda, I believe.
I can print it out.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as distributed.
So moved.
To a
For a
second?
second, I guess you moved.
Yeah. Anybody in favor of that? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the agenda is approved. I don't see anyone on our call for public comments. At least they haven't identified themselves, and I don't see them in the guest panel, so we can move on. Chairman's remarks. Okay, there has been some discussion, both in the press and in the very about our recommendations report. I've even gotten feedback from our the legal advisor, Mr. Bright. And in our recommendations, we recommended that we lengthen the voting period beyond the 35 days. I've been informed that that's a bylaw, so we can't just change that by changing a resolution. That would have to be included with a referendum. Ergo, I would suggest that is effectively dead for this next election.
Yes,
However, if we felt it was necessary, we can still move forward with working with the bylaws committee to do that. And we could include the referendum vote with the same mailing as the election. That is permissible. I'm not thoroughly convinced that we need to do it.
No, and I think the last set of changes, we made it more difficult to change bylaws. So I just don't see it happening.
Okay, well,
For
then
this.
I'm,
So rather than, let's see, is the closing the election a Wednesday before the annual meeting in the bylaws?
that is not, that is in resolution M06.
So perhaps, see, to me, and this is just my opinion, I felt like just witnessing for the first time that it was a bit of a mad scramble to get things done by that Wednesday.
Right.
And I didn't even go and help you box up the
That
ballot box. Does it make sense to buy ourselves a little bit more time on the back end? So you still start 35 days in advance of the annual meeting. I guess that's what the
bylaws say, yeah,
Yeah.
35 days.
but can you, I mean, it's plenty of time.
I believe that when I wrote the recommendations, I believe that was an attempt to address the short time to get things there, which I think we've addressed in our subsequent discussions, and we'll address that when we look at M06.
Okay, fair enough.
So,
I think that's the real issue for us. It just seems like things are a little bit like nip and tuck there at the end for.
But I'm going to take a quick vote here just to keep things on the up and up. All those in favor of tabling the request to change a bylaw, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Cheryl, are you an aye? Yep. Okay, so the ayes have it. So we will not proceed forward on that. Let's see. The old business, we had those of us who were able to get together in person, were able to look at the election materials. Anybody have any changes that you wanted to recommend now, or should we table that until I can get copies out to everybody?
table that until we get this out to everybody, I suggest.
I think that,
the one big issue, I think, is what Patrick was just talking about, and that's an easy change for us, and that is, we set the date when the use of the box at the police station stops. So when
Yes.
when we set the timelines, we set when we want that to stop so that there isn't a mad rush at the end.
yes. Now, I would anticipate there will be some who don't like that, but we just, as long as we make the case and the board approves the changes to the resolution, then if they don't, I'm going to ask, well, then which one of you is going to pick up those ballots and rush them up to Staples with a half an hour to go?
Yeah.
Because it just, well, we got lucky that it all the timing worked out, but that requirement does put us in a bit of a bind. So then the next,
So I guess I had marked up the ballot
okay,
form, but if you want to table that discussion until everybody's ready, then that's
if you can hang on to that,
fine.
I think that's what we'll do. I want to be respectful of time since I wasn't yesterday.
Ah,
I want to get everybody out to their dinner appointments and rehearsals and everything else you got going on. But I would like to take a look at MO6. Did everybody get a copy of that?
I did, but when I printed it off, some things
copy,
with the
because
comments
it was
were not
17
lined up.
pages long.
Oh, I'm not sure how that could have happened, but I'll accept that it did. Hang on just a moment while I try and get my copy open here.
Some of the comments in the attachments didn't line up properly when I printed it off for some reason.
Oh, okay. They were my comments then, right?
Yes. What did you want to talk about on MO6?
I'm just opening up my copy so I can
Oh, okay.
lead this discussion. The network in this building is very slow.
Yeah, I got one bar.
Yeah,
Although, are you on the, are you on their Wi-Fi or are you?
I'm on their Wi-Fi.
Oh, you are? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first comment while I'm still struggling to get this open.
Let me pull it up on my phone.
For example, on attachment A, some of the things that were highlighted as comments, instead of reading continuously on the line, they were thrown up on the left-hand side of the page for some reason.
Okay,
So
let me try this. I do have this up now, so my first suggested,
Can you display it?
I should be able to. Sure.
I mean, I know what those guys look like already, so I don't need to see them anymore.
Okay. See if I get to the. One.
In fact, you probably can share your screen too, and then they can see it. Yeah, you can share your screen.
I can figure out where it lives. We
Oh,
can
okay.
do it over here.
Oh, okay. Okay. There's a window too up there.
There is. Yeah, but it doesn't have my computer.
Oh, okay.
I'll keep working on that in the background here and
Alright.
see if I can make that happen.
Okay.
So anyway, the first comment that I had was to the definition section that I feel we need to add a definition of a voting packet
Oh,
to make it clear that we regard the voting packet as both the electronic delivery and the paper as well, but it's one packet. That would
That makes
that would have
sense.
addressed one of our complaints. So if everyone is okay with that, I'll move on here.
did you put in the language that you wanted or just,
I did not,
okay.
but if you'd like me to bring it back for a more formal vote, I'll be happy to do that.
Yes,
I think what we ought to do is agree that those are areas that that need some help. And then we can use another meeting to review actual language before we
Okay,
decide
Yeah.
to,
I will go ahead and put this in a charging document form
there you go.
to send to the board,
Yeah,
and we'll meet and go over that charging document and revise as needed.
Yep.
Then it'll be ready to go to them. Does that sound like the right process to you, John?
I believe so.
All right. In attachment A, number 2 is voting by mail and electronic transmission. I've just noted that this is where it says only a single voting package is sent for each lot or unit eligible to vote. This applies to all joint owners of a lot or unit, including co-tenants, joint tenants, and tenants by the entireties. I don't know that that needs to be altered at all in light of if we make the change.
if you've defined what an election packet is,
Right,
meaning 2 prongs to it,
Right.
then you're probably fine.
okay. Any objections from the screen?
No,
Nope. All right. Now, C under that same number 2 is if an owner submits a vote by electronic transmission, any paper ballots submitted by that owner would be invalidated. Now, that would seem to speak against the rule we used last time, which was the first one in counts. So we should,
Yeah, I couldn't remember what the protocol was or like so it's the first one received. And MK can track that.
yes.
They can track whether
Well, I
the
can-
email got in before the mailed one.
The email, the electronic version is almost always going to beat the paper because
Right,
it's instantaneous and the paper
Yeah.
takes the postal service.
unless you
unless,
had,
unless they choose to deal with it in different time periods. I mean, some people might say, oh, I'm going to mail my ballot in, and then they think, oh, well, you know what? Let me just go ahead and vote electronically and get it over and done with. So,
Okay.
I mean, you never know what's in people's minds, because we know some people think that they can vote more than once by the
Yes.
2 different methods.
or
'Cause we
you
have-
possibly had the case where one member of the household voted electronically and the other one, and they didn't communicate, and the other one voted
Right.
paper. And it
Yes.
was
yep.
and no malice intended, but
That's
So
possible.
I guess my question is, what do we want the rule to be? First
Yeah,
in, first counted?
I think you have to do that, and I actually was in favor of what's here. But now thinking about it, if you don't do it that way, anybody who wants to change their vote, you send in your paper ballot first. You want to change your vote? 2 days before the election's over, you vote electronically. So I think if we want to stick to you can't change your vote, it's got to be the first one in is the one that we count.
I'm okay with that.
agreed.
So I will write up some sample language for your approval at the next meeting. Okay, the next thing I have highlighted is number 3, right under that, the voting deadline. And I don't think you'd get much traction trying to change the Wednesday before.
You don't.
Well, let's see. Let me read it to you what it says because this does need some discussion. The deadline for returning ballot envelopes or submission of the ballot by electronic transmission for the election of board of directors and for referendum issues being voted on at the same time as board election shall be prior to the end of association regular business hours on the Wednesday before the annual meeting of the members in August. So my read of that says that we could close it anytime Wednesday.
I thought it said,
Anytime,
business.
it says, it shall be prior to the end of the association
oh,
regular
prior
business
to the
hours.
end.
So,
So it could be at 9 AM.
right, and then we'd have plenty of time to pick up the ballots and get them where they need to go. But I'm much more in favor of what we had discussed.
You're cutting out.
Okay, that's what. But I'm sorry.
You're
That's
cutting
this
out.
network here. I'll try to speak up and see if.
Try again. Can you
Okay,
hear us now?
Yep.
I can hear you, but you were cutting out, so I didn't hear the whole thing of what you were saying, Steve.
okay, I'll try again. I'm in favor of leaving this just as it is, but making the change to us picking up the ballot box from the police station 7 days early. Or 5 days early, whatever we think we need.
Yeah, and I
So,
think if you
go
do
ahead,
that,
Ken.
yeah, if you do that, maybe we need to specifically say here that other means such as the box could have an earlier deadline, so people don't argue that we have to keep the box in the police station until the same time. Because we cut it off before
Well,
we cut
someone
off.
could make the argument that someone could argue that they waited till the last minute and then weren't able to vote because they thought it was there.
Right?
Yeah, so if you're going to have two separate timelines, one for electronic and one for electronic / mailing versus one for drop off, then that would have to be explicitly stated in the instructions that we send out
Right,
with the voting materials.
yes.
Do we, so that's one point, and that's easily done, or it's easily read and understood.
Right.
Is a totally different story. You can lead the horse to water, as we know. So I guess the other question is, if we were to gather those ballots at the police station in the morning, does that give you sufficient time?
Well, yeah,
Because you had to wait until what, 4 o'clock or
Yeah.
something like that?
that's what the instruction said, but in looking at MO6, that 4:30 cutoff isn't there in
Correct.
there.
Correct.
So,
We picked those up on Tuesday though, before at 4 o'clock, not Wednesday.
we picked them up Wednesday.
I think we picked them up Tuesday. You might want to go back and check that. Because they got them on Wednesday. Remember, we thought they weren't get them till Thursday, but they got them overnight. We picked them up Tuesday so they would have them on Thursday.
You may be right, Ken. I stand corrected because we did have to get them there by Wednesday. So I'm going to suggest that I add another sub-item here that says the committee at their discretion may make a Dropbox available. And that Dropbox will close 2 days before.
See, you just
Yeah,
cut out again.
To allow for, so it would say before, to allow time for shipping to arrive. And then we'll spell it right out there. How does that sound to everybody?
Good.
Well,
I
you cut
I
out
think
on that,
it's-
but I got the gist of what you were saying. Yes. That makes
Okay.
sense. And a lot of that is dependent on who we ultimately use as the vendor and whether or not the vendor is local or far away.
True. Although in past discussions, we have indicated that we were really happy with MK. But John, this is perhaps a time where we can chime in and get your opinion. In terms of the election vendor for the coming year, I assume that we only had a 1-year contract with MK. Is that your
Yeah,
understanding?
we can suspend Robert's rules. Yeah, as far as I know, I had pulled that thing back up, but I was pretty sure that was a 1 year. That I don't think we asked for anything more than 1 year. We could certainly go back and confirm that. I might actually have something from Tom Piatti, or you may have it. But I was pretty sure that
No, oddly
proposal
enough,
only
I
had
don't
1
have
year
a
to
copy
it.
of the contract. I don't have a copy of the contract.
Yeah, I think it might have went to John, but I can take that as a follow-up, Steve.
All right, well, here's what I want to put on the table. I think we've talked about this in a previous meeting as well. Are we allowed to sole source, or do we have to go through another RFP process?
I'm believe that's this committee's decision. And you can do a multiple year contract. The only thing that I would advise if you're going out, we're going to more than likely have a referendum that'll need to go out for the fire, for the South Firehouse. So
Okay.
just make sure that whoever, if it's MK that this committee selects, or whoever it may be, that's part of the agreement. So I don't know whether that would be additional, that's just part of it, or what, but just you guys should keep that in mind, on the next, when you go out the next time. And I
Well,
think
we won't
it's
have to do
certainly,
we don't have to do a referendum
No,
for an RFP.
No, he's saying that there may be a referendum for something with the firehouse.
Right.
yes.
We want to make sure
Yes.
that whatever
That
contractual
included-
agreement we have with MK,
Includes.
they can accommodate that.
Got it.
Yes,
So,
that's
and
correct.
I guess certainly by reviewing the current contract, we can determine that. And if we issue a new RFP and that wasn't in the first one, we certainly should make sure that, there are
So why don't we
provisions
do
for them
this?
to handle that.
Why don't we do this as a first step? I'll get the contract and get it over
Yeah.
to you.
Great.
And then we
Right,
can
let's-
just see what's in there, because there may be something for a referendum in there as well. The other thing was the observable count, whether whether that stays or goes. And I think that was actually part of MK, whether we wanted it or not. But
Yeah.
let's get a copy of it, and then maybe that might be helpful for this committee.
All right, that'd be great.
Thank you, John.
I'd also like to get the feel for the committee. Do we prefer to just try to sole source it back to MK and get a 3-year contract with them?
I think you
Or-
better talk to Bruce Bright before you make that kind of a decision. At one other point, though, if I recall correctly, didn't they have the ability to perform the contract on site if we wanted?
No,
Are you sure?
no, they had a provision for an extra cost to come do a hand count on site if there was a recount. But
Not
their
the
pricing,
original electronic count?
we'll confirm that when we check the contract, but I don't
Yeah.
believe so, because that
Contract,
had,
but I don't think you can
that
sole
was-
source. You better check with Bruce
Uh,
Bright about that.
Well, do we agree that if we can sole source it, we want to sole source it?
I'm not in agreement with that.
Okay,
I'm not in agreement with that. I may be the
Okay.
odd man out here, but I'm not in agreement with that. I'm not saying that I was displeased with them, but I'm not in agreement to just automatically picking them again. That's just my
Okay.
opinion.
what is everybody's thoughts on trying to get a contract that goes longer than 1 year? So it's not every year an RFP and such. What are your thoughts?
Everything that went wrong on that Thursday was because we were new with them. They didn't know our procedures. Having somebody for multiple years corrects all of that. So we should go for multiple years.
Okay. Cheryl? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll agree with that.
Okay. Cheryl, what do you think?
No, I'm not in agreement with that.
Why not?
Because I think that if you're going to do an RFP, which I think you're going to be advised legally you have to do it, then I don't know that it's the right thing to do to make it multiple years. It seems like it makes more sense. Once you have your RFP, you just put it out there, and whoever is the best one in terms of the response is who we picked. And that can change from year to year. And we may want to have a provision where it's done in-house, not by us, but by the vendor locally. So we don't have to be sending things out.
Well, I think that's a debate we have to have because, again, I think it's a fool's gold to think there's some value to actually have people counting it in the same room where we are. You're actually seeing it better with the video, but we do a lot of things. I know we had a 3-year landscaping contract in the park with our landscaper. Now it had a clause to let us get out after 2, but I totally disagree with the idea that you only do 1-year contracts. I think you're totally wrong on that, and I don't think it reflects reality.
I'm not saying you have to. I'm saying I think there's value in it because if we can use a local business, I'm always going to prefer to use a local business.
I'm going to prefer the one that's better, whether it's local or not. But I think
local that's not better. No, I'm not saying that.
I think we should, as a committee, we're going to have to decide it. But I certainly would vote in favor of trying to get something for multiple years because I want continuity. I don't want somebody changing every year, making the same learning mistakes over again.
Well,
are you going to have escalation clauses in it to accommodate the changes in the financial situation?
You're going to have a price. Yeah, you're going to have a price that they may either do a 3-year fixed price or a 3-year with an increase each year. I mean, we're both lawyers. We can debate about the details, but yes, it's very easy to do a multi-year contract. I've never done an RFP for a single year for something like this.
I would ask that we get the advice and make it 3 years, first year with 2 option years at our option.
Yep.
Okay, and have the price negotiated. But that still doesn't address Cheryl's concern about it being a local business, because I'm not aware, nor did any information turn up in our RFP last year that there was a local business who could do this. I know in the past we've used.
Well,
in the past,
non-responsive,
they had a local business, but they missed the deadline.
Well,
I thought they could print it.
I think.
I thought they were printing, but I didn't think they were counting.
Yeah, they do.
Okay.
We'll certainly give them an opportunity to respond.
Yeah, so I think before we're not deciding anything, right?
No.
We're throwing ideas around. I think the only thing that we're deciding is that we should seek advice from Bruce Bright on whether or not we can go sole source with MK.
Yes, although we are not in unanimous agreement that we should, even if we can.
But do we have to be?
We don't have
Well,
to.
if he says legally you have to, you have to.
If he says we can't go sole source,
then we don't.
Then we don't push it.
Right.
That's plain and simple. If he says we can, then I think we talk again about whether or not we want to engage MK for sole source. And then I think regardless of whether we go sole source or issue an RFP, I think we write the RFP the way you said it, with it's 1 year with 2 option years at our discretion, blah, blah, blah. We'll get all the right words.
We can write it so that they can opt out or we can.
Yeah.
But
And we just opted out of our
yeah,
landscaping
so we have to
contract
opt
after
out.
2
So we have
years.
time to-
So, you know, it happens. We had a 3-year contract and we terminated after 2.
So you see,
Okay,
that's
John,
my
can we,
I rest my case.
okay,
You haven't made your case. It's.
I did. You said you wanted a multi-year contract, and I'm saying that that's.
all right,
that's
we'll
a-
have order in
Yeah,
this court.
And it works because you can
This didn't
opt out
work
of it.
out.
You can opt out of
Okay.
it, but this idea that we have to be local is ridiculous.
Okay, let's
Be
not do
kind.
the judgment words, okay?
Let's be kind.
Everybody's entitled to an opinion here, okay?
Correct.
And my
Um,
opinion is it's ridiculous to think that we have to watch them in person counting the ballots. And we
Okay,
need to get
I
away from
understand.
that
I understand that's your opinion.
because
so,
we're falling back into all
John,
this.
let's you and I take this offline so that we can get all the questions we have for Bruce. And send them through you back to him. And we'll go from there, and then we'll bring it back, and the committee will take a formal vote on which way we want to do it. Once we have advice of council. How's that sound?
Sounds good. I'll make the, I just made it while we were sitting here. I made the, I'll get a copy of the contract so we can kind of take that. So, because if we're going to go to Bruce, what I'd like to do, or if we need to go to Bruce, what I'd like to do is kind of have everything. I don't want to piecemeal it. We give it all to them at one time. So we're not, got one question here, one question there, and, so yeah, yep. So
Right.
let's, that may tell us a little bit more. Because we certainly don't see anything in MO6 about the any of these requirements that you're talking about.
No.
And sometimes these are, obviously silent for a reason. But anyway, I'll step away and you can you can.
We'll keep going on
Reinstate Robert's
ML6. We
rules.
got a couple other things to discuss. This one, under elections materials, this one troubled me a bit. I'm not sure what it means or why it's here, and that is the notation that says proxies, when included in voting packages, shall comply with section 3.03 of the bylaws.
Where are
Directed
you?
proxies.
Where are
Oh,
you
I'm sorry.
referring?
This is under election materials, Cheryl. It's number 4 in Appendix A, I believe.
Yeah, double small I, the bottom of page 4.
Okay, this is not one that you had highlighted, but you're saying now.
Highlighted on my screen.
Yeah, it's
not-
highlighted with the comments. I don't know why yours is different, but
Yeah.
we'll guide you to it.
Okay, gotcha.
So I'm not aware that we would ever use proxies or allow them. They never have in my experience here, but
The
that's
question
not
is,
as
should
vast.
we?
You have to allow them.
The
You have
thing-
to allow them.
The thing that it would work for is the problem we ran into again this year of not having the 100 people. Because somebody could give you their proxy to attend on their behalf, and we could probably get 100 proxies and actually have an annual meeting. I know my condo board, which is, smaller but similar, we give proxies just to establish the quorum at the meeting.
Okay, so,
But is that what this is talking about?
no,
Yes.
this. Well,
Yes, it is.
Ken, look at the next item down, little I, 3I.
Yep.
That's voting proxy, our proxy forms for establishing a quorum.
Yep, well, they go
That's what he's
together.
talking about.
One is the proxy to vote if you want somebody, well, we don't vote in person, but it could be a voting proxy for the meeting for an annual meeting. But I think you want to leave this in here, and the bigger question, and it's not, I don't think it's our question, maybe it is. Bigger question is whether we should in fact be soliciting proxies to at least get the quorum at the annual meeting.
I'm
I
in
don't-
agreeing that perhaps we should.
I don't have the bylaws in front of me, but this is referring to the bylaws, section 3.03. I think you have to have proxies available to people. They're probably
For
not
voting in,
used.
Well,
But you have
Just-
to have
let's just-
proxies available.
all right, so I guess that's I saw that too, and I guess 3.03 of the bylaws defines the rules for proxies. So
Yeah,
this is just saying proxies when included in the voting package. So as you point out, since you've been around, we've never had one. But if we ever want to exercise it,
I did in
and
fact.
I don't know why we would, then it has to comply with 303.
It would seem to me that we would never use that because we don't vote in person at the annual meeting for the elections. Now, we
No,
do
but
if
no,
there's business.
This isn't, yeah, but this isn't really, it's bad wording, but it's talking about voting on issues included in the meeting notice.
It
So it's not
really
actually
is
talking
bad
about,
wording.
it's not talking about the election. It actually is talking about the meetings. Because the only issues that would be included in the meeting notice would be issues to come before the annual meeting. So
Then
it's,
if that's the case, then it should be taken out of this resolution altogether as it's not elections related.
that's why I said, but
Yeah.
we're responsible for the annual meeting, right? Or counting votes at the
No,
annual
we're
meeting.
only responsible for reporting the election results.
I thought we were responsible for
President's-
establishing the quorum.
Yes,
No.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we
And-
do,
And
we
if
do
there's a
provide
vote-
the quorum.
Yeah, and if there's a vote, I thought we had to technically tabulate the vote.
Okay,
But if
but
whatever,
I would submit that the first paragraph, but is not our department, but if it's fine to leave, we'll leave. But well, John, we should also have a discussion or relay back to the board if they want to allow proxies for establishing the quorum, they do have that authority, it appears, under this, but I don't want our group to undertake soliciting proxies for voting.
I'd agree to that.
That
we may
just,
not solicit them, but it is going to be our responsibility for tabulating them in the
Yep.
count. And in fact, I've used that ability in the past. When I couldn't attend an annual meeting, I gave my proxy to someone else to vote on my behalf. And they were counted because they had my proxy.
And we could
Okay,
probably always
so-
get 100 votes and actually have an annual meeting. It shouldn't be-
so that begs the question of where is aforementioned proxy form?
Is it part of the bylaws 3.03? Or would it?
I don't have that up in front of me,
Yeah, I know you don't.
but we can check.
Yeah,
John,
there is an established form to be used.
okay, any idea where we might get a
I can't tell
copy?
you off the top of my head where it is, but there is an established form to be used.
Right, John, put that on your list, please. And we'll talk about that and see if we can source that out.
Got it.
So what I'm trying to wrap my head around is that first sentence. It's something about proxy forms if included in the election
It
package.
just says proxies when included in voting packages.
So would we put the proxy form in with the voting package? For them to be able to have a proxy for the annual meeting?
There's no point to it because you vote electronically or by mail. You don't vote in person at the meeting.
Right.
I understand. So
But
when do you
what
get,
this-
where do you get the proxy form if you need a proxy for the annual meeting?
Well,
Yeah,
that's
probably
what,
a question we
that's
can't
what we're
answer in
gonna-
this room.
figure out where it is, but
To answer the question, because this is exactly what we do for the condo HOA, we get a package that has our ballot and the proxy for the annual meeting. This, of course, was written probably contemplating that we only had physical ballots, that we didn't have electronic. So I agree, this doesn't work in an electronic, in the electronic age, because you're still going to have to send the proxy in even if you vote electronically. But we should clean it
Hey, let
up.
me
We
do
should
some-
probably keep it in.
But everybody gets the paper and the opportunity to vote electronically.
Right.
Everyone's gonna get the paper.
Right.
So it sounds like it's a convenient way to provide the proxy form to members, should they need to exercise that for the annual meeting.
Or
And
should there be, yeah.
It's just a little confusing that they're coupling them together.
We could, I mean, the election package is just a PDF. We can add a form there
Right.
and specify on it, if granting your proxy for the quorum, it must be done by mail.
So I think we're unraveling what this means.
Yeah,
And I think it's probably okay.
so, John, if you want to take back and the board to give us some guidance, if they want us to pursue putting proxies for the quorum at the annual meeting with the election materials, we can be open to that, but it's really their preference.
Why don't we
At
do
least
this, Steve? I just got the MK Elections contract already. I'm gonna forward it all to you. Once everyone kind of goes through it, we kind of assemble. Why don't we put it all together so we're kind of being thoughtful in kind of what we want?
Okay.
Where there's clarification, kind of put it all together.
All right, well, we know there's an issue here that we want to resolve.
and you're probably
Yep.
the first person to read this, Steve, in a long time, so congratulations. I'm sure it's
Well-
been skipped in prior reviews.
Thank you. It's, you take over for the other chairman who was doing most of it. And I didn't have to read all of it. I didn't have to really delve into it because Tom was handling it. Well, now it's my turn, or our turn, I should say. Okay, next up. I have a comment here. It appears that the drop box at the police station is addressed somewhat in number 7, subsection C. Says the committee may establish secure boxes at association facilities where ballot envelopes may be deposited without the need for return mailing. These ballot envelopes shall be collected by the contractor. Well, they're not.
Right,
They're collected by us, I would submit.
yes.
With everybody's tacit okay,
Yeah, that's gotta get fixed.
I'll put some language there, and
Just-
we'll put
Substitute committee instead of contractor.
okay, yep, it could just be that simple.
Yep.
Or collected by the committee and provided to.
And provided to the
Contractor.
contractor. As long as we note that it'll be 2 days shorter voting window.
Maybe
If you
another-
choose to do that.
And maybe an opportunity to reemphasize that point in that,
Yep.
in that clause.
But if you think the committee doesn't read these things, I can only think of about 3 people in the community who read them.
I'm
they
surprised
will.
nobody raised the fact it said contractor. We're lucky we dodged the bullet.
All right, so, okay, number 8, just below that, issues requiring a duplicate ballot. Reports that a voting package has not been received shall be promptly addressed by the committee, and we do that. If warranted, a duplicate voting package shall be mailed to the member by first-class mail or signed at the association's administrative office. We don't do that. The return envelope shall be marked to indicate that it is a duplicate. We don't do that. A record of the duplicate voting packages, whether mailed or picked up by the member, shall be maintained by the committee for 1 year. We do that. We get a report of duplicate ballots that are issued and who they were issued to. I believe the language about the duplicate was to make sure that we could identify when there were duplicates in the count, but that's all done by the electronic code number. Every ballot, either electronic or paper, has an associated multi-digit code.
Mhm.
So once you vote once, if you mail in another one, the computer says, and we would have established which one counts,
Right.
which we had said was going to be first in. So that language will, I think, need to be changed. Because we don't want people coming up to the admin office asking for a duplicate ballot, because they don't have them.
Absolutely. No. Yeah.
So we've got to change that to reflect how we really do it. And that changes, we'll have to update.
So do we need to fix things in that language that we're not doing, or do we need to implement practices to do the things that you're suggesting we're not doing?
I would just simplify it a lot. I'll try and do it off the top of my head with something. Reports that a voting package has not been received shall be promptly addressed by the committee. If warranted, a duplicate voting package shall be issued to the member by the contractor. Okay, so we take out
But
first class mail.
But, and it's.
Is
do we
it by
have
the,
anything in there that says that we control that though? Like, we don't want the contractor arbitrarily sending out duplicate ballots.
Right.
is it by the contractor or is it by the committee that arranges
It's
it?
by the, we arrange it, but the contractor mails it or emails it. And it got down to, because many people are waiting until, 2 days before the election ends. So the only way we can get anything to them timely was an electronic ballot.
Right.
But our preference was always to send them both if they
Well-
requested early enough.
We probably have to have some language that differentiates between those two that says if you want it, if you want a paper ballot, it has to be by X date. Otherwise, your only option will be electronic because there's a time issue. So whenever you redo this language, I think we have to differentiate between that based on what you just said, Steve.
Okay. So noted. We'll see if I can come up with something as a straw man.
And not to complicate wording, but I think you don't want to just leave it as it'll be issued by the contractor. Because you need to at least include us in the loop.
So
somehow.
the committee shall
Okay.
cause it to be issued by the contractor.
If warranted, a
Yeah.
duplicate
Something like that,
package will be authorized by the committee and mailed to the member
by the contractor,
or mailed and or emailed.
right?
And then we can work on the language about different timing.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, and I don't know, the term duplicate threw me a little bit. It's a funny term. I want to say replacement
Yes.
ballot,
Okay,
but
I think that's better wording.
Yep.
Yes.
because duplicate almost sounds like something
Chicago.
funky's going on,
Right.
right?
I'll change the phrasing to replacement if that's.
And I guess the only issue there is you might need to do a word search because that I saw the word duplicate used in a number of times, but
Good news is word search and me are
Yeah.
close friends. One more item. 2 original copies of the final vote count shall be prepared, certified, signed, and dated by the chairperson. The final vote count will be attested by the election committee members present. Upon attestation of the final vote count, the results will be announced live on the OPA internet stream and/or TV, emailed to the board of directors, emailed to all candidates, and posted on the Ocean Pines website. So again, this gets back to do we have to do this Wednesday at 5:00 and announce it to the world? Because I think
well, that
There
doesn't
is-
say you do.
there is
Nope.
an outside chance that something could be funky in the numbers.
Yep.
And we don't notice it on the call. So if we're attesting, and we know we have folks out there who are just sitting there with screen print
Mhm.
toggling there to try and capture it and release the results first.
Yeah.
If something did happen and there was a question and we had to revise the count even by one vote,
So
we would open ourselves up to
so
something.
what you just read didn't tie it to the annual meeting.
No.
So it could be, that could all be accomplished after the annual meeting, in theory.
no,
No,
No?
but it doesn't
no,
have to be accomplished.
we have,
at the-
we have,
Oh, I
to-
guess you have to attest.
we all have to attest
Sure.
that the numbers the contractor gives us are the numbers we accept for the election.
Okay, that, sure.
That's pretty much a rubber stamp.
But as
They
far
are,
as
they are.
communicating it all out to the world, What's,
Right, well,
I guess, and again, what we're getting to, we all talked about it at one of our previous meetings. One of the reasons that we believe that we did not get a quorum at the annual meeting was because everybody already knew the answer. And a lot of people, the only reason they go to the annual meeting is to find out who won.
yeah, and
Yep.
John approached me at the last board meeting and said that, John, you want to speak to that?
Yeah, it seems like a precedent, I've never been the one where they held it, so I don't have any experience where they waited, and maybe they did that in the past. It feels like our precedent has been that. I agree with everything you said, Patrick, about, folks coming to a quorum and all they want to know is the answer. I just don't know, but I mean, if, whatever this committee wants to bring forward, you're certainly,
I can tell you
make
exactly
those.
why it happened, and it was when Brett Hill was put in as a temporary GM, and he was running for the board. I'm sorry, it was when he was running for the board, and he was convinced that there was skullduggery being done in the counting process.
And
In
it's
the
still
direct
going
line.
on today.
Yes, I'm telling you. And so they made a decision that going forward, the results would be announced prior to the annual meeting, because in the past, that's always was the case. They waited until the annual meeting, and that's how you got the attendance that you needed for the quorum. People did wait and show up to find out who won. That all
Whatever-
changed with the Brett Hill fiasco.
Whatever we do, we want to at least build in a few hours. We had that in the schedule this year, and then because of the fact that the results were shown on the screen at the beginning of the public meeting, we didn't have time for our private meeting. But we don't want to announce the results at the same time as we get them from MK again, because we
Right.
want time to test them. And I did actually run them through a few internal tests to show the electronic numbers were consistent with the paper numbers, that the numbers themselves were internally consistent. So the one thing we don't want to do is announce the result in public until we've had time to digest it in private, which was our intent this
And
year.
I also want the announcement of the results to come from this committee, not from a newspaper or a website somewhere.
I thought some
that-
white or black smoke like the Pope would be nice.
Yeah, maybe so. So,
Yeah, there's an idea.
just in the spirit of full disclosure, my plan is to go back and after this discussion and make some changes to MO6, bring that back to you guys and we'll tweak it as needed and get it ready. I will also draft up a charging document for the board that addresses both these changes and a recommendation asking them to restore there's nothing in MO6 that says we have to announce it on the day of
Right.
the end. That seems to be in my read, and I encourage everyone else to read, and especially you lawyers there. I don't see anything that says we have to do that, and nor do I see anything that says we have to have board approval to save the results and announce them at the annual meeting. John, tell me if I'm stepping on toes and overstepping.
Well, number
No,
11.
Look,
Look at number 11. Look at number 11. That says where we're gonna, does that give us the ability to hold it until the annual meeting?
Sure. Because
It sure does.
if you go back to E, the thing that triggers the announcement is our attestation. We can wait to attest until before the annual meeting, because it doesn't say when we have to attest to it.
I believe we would be much wiser to take the information from MK, have our own Zoom call or a live meeting and say, okay, here's the results. Does anybody have any concerns or questions? If not, are we all willing to sign on the dotted line that we attest that these are the final results? That should protect us from any any rumor or gossip or anything, because there's 5 different people attesting to it.
And that attestation can be a non-public meeting,
Yes,
correct?
Yes.
yes. I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
so-
actually, it was scheduled that way this year, but we never had it. But yes, it was, the public did not get a link to that meeting.
Yeah, right.
Right. So, John, you can expect something in a charging document, after our next meeting, I think. And we'll go forward and see what the board wants to do with these things. But we're not gonna ask for a bylaw change. We're gonna keep the 35-day voting window. But we're gonna address the issues here in MO6. And by all means, if anybody else wants to give MO6 a good thorough read, if you see something else that you want, please let me know and I'll add it to it and we'll discuss it next meeting.
We do have to figure out a way, like that attestation, the attempted attestation.
Yes?
So Fred happened to be at the clubhouse with everybody else.
Right?
So even though we only saw Fred, there were a whole bunch of other people in the room. We as a committee need to make sure we're in a place for that attestation where it's private.
Right. What we
No
were,
leaks, no leaks, no leaks. They're deadly.
we were
So
supposed
I
to have it.
understand, but it was not, it was probably not intentional that there were leaks, but if he's in the bar at the clubhouse and all the candidates are there and getting ready to celebrate,
Right.
looking over his shoulder, helping him navigate on the
Well,
computer.
I'm not a
Remember
big fan
that-
of us putting it on a big screen in the clubhouse, but
Remember, that was
if you
not
wanna
the
tune in,
that was not the attestation meeting. That was the meeting
True.
for us to adjudicate the votes. But yes, if we had that meeting, Fred cannot be on a screen in the
Right.
clubhouse
yeah,
for the
so
adjudication meeting.
we'll have them, we'll have whatever vendor is chosen complete the vote. Then we will, in a open session, we will adjudicate any ballots, just like we did this time, but then we will adjourn. And the committee will go review the results
Closed
and,
session. We'll go into closed session.
And we will make sure that they know
that'll tick a few people off,
yep.
but I guess
We'll
it's
also make sure
appropriate.
they know what the process is, because it was our mistake in not making sure MK knew exactly how we were doing it. So they didn't realize the entire world was going to see their spreadsheet. And that was on
Right.
us.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So is there anything else in MO6 that,
No, that seemed to be all of it.
okay,
So I will try to digest this all and put everyone's thoughts into it and get something ready by the next meeting. So the next question is, our next meeting would be November, the Monday
Well,
right after.
You had another item here, and that was to develop an RFP. Are you saying you want to put that on hold until you review the contract and get the information from Bruce Bright?
Yes. Yeah, we have to
Okay.
find out what our options are. If we do have to do an RFP, I would still advocate for doing multiple years with options. But
yeah,
we'll address that probably at our next meeting. Once we hear back from Bruce and we all get a look, so take a look at the contract when John sends it around. So we'll know what's in there.
And you
Everybody
have-
should have it. Everybody should have it. I just sent it over. So let me know
Alright,
for some
thanks,
reason if you
John.
didn't get it. You got it. Okay.
Thank you. All right, then our next meeting, I know our next meeting is close to Thanksgiving. But I am gonna suggest that we cancel the December meeting. That's in the middle of holidays and that's,
All in
Might be
favor,
too
say
much.
aye. All
second,
in favor, say aye.
aye,
all in
Aye.
favor of canceling the December meeting?
aye.
Aye.
Oh, I like to
Yeah.
meet
You're not
Christmas
voting?
week. I love meeting
All right.
Christmas week. Yeah.
Hey, John? You said you emailed out the
yes.
contract to everybody?
Yes.
I'm
Well,
not,
I
well,
used
I
it-
guess I should,
I used,
check my
I used
spam.
I used the elections committee group email. Is that current, Steve?
Okay, when I get back home, I'll forward it around.
okay.
So it's
Although
a
that
group.
should go to your personal, it doesn't?
I don't have that
I don't
email.
have it, but it is possible that because of the connectivity, it's delay, oh. No, that's
All right,
that's something.
I'm
One,
sitting
I-
home. I have to get home. I have to hurry home. I've got urgent text messages from Governor Hogan, Tim Walz, Kamala, and the Trump team. They all want to get in touch with me.
Wow.
Hey,
Hey,
Oh,
I'm just
so-
I'm just wondering if it went to the old. I thought you created a new group.
No, I have a group that I mail to, but apparently what's sent to the elections. Yeah, you guys can all have rights to access that mailbox and call it up, but we haven't worked through the technical issues
Yeah, I
of
haven't set
getting
that
it.
up.
So what I've been doing is, as much as I can remember in my old age, is I
did set it up. I just don't have it.
just forwarded it back to your personal email, so you've got it. So I'll do that when I get home.
So, there was one thing we talked about on the phone about your absence yesterday
Yes.
and the idea of being able to still conduct a meeting in the absence of the chairman. So an important, my wife is chairperson of the Parks and Rec Committee. They have a co-chair that has been vetted and approved by the board.
Okay.
So, and that way, they would only be in a situation where if both of them were not there, they couldn't conduct their
Right.
meeting.
Well, I can tell you all I did in this room to start the meeting is walk over to that computer and log in, and it was already up there.
So if we don't think we need
I had no problems with it.
if the chairman's not here, but we can still conduct the meeting on his behalf.
Yeah,
I don't-
I'm just one vote on this committee, so,
All right.
and typically I will have sent out.
And maybe you can show me when we're done exactly what you did, because I clicked, but it didn't let me log in because I didn't give it a password. Did you have to do a password?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay. You can just show me the password.
Yeah. It's on the yellow sticky over there.
Oh, was it there yesterday?
I believe it was, but I'm not sure. I'm not gonna sell you down the river.
Okay, all right, maybe. I
Although
wasn't
what's
there.
written on the tag is wrong, so.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, so, yeah, we'll have that plan, and whoever's here in the meeting can get it started, although I think it has to start from here because whoever's the administrator here has a chairmanship. I don't think I could start it from home, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
I will look into that part. All right, seeing no further business, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
All right.
Aye. All opposed? Meeting adjourned.